Good morning, everybody. We're glad you're here, and I want to take a moment to share with you some information about the budget that I'm going to be submitting on March the 6th to City Council, and today I want to share with you some highlights about our spending plan for next fiscal year. Where budgets are concerned, for us, the most important thing is being a good steward of taxpayer dollars. We are in difficult economic times, and we've had to work at doing more with less. It's important to note one or two things about our position. Since I took office, we have had to work to close persistent budget gaps and decreases. The first year that we were in office, we had a $28.5 million gap that we had to fill. Since then, we've closed gaps of $34 million, $26 million, and this year's gap is $16 million. On Tuesday, we're going to be presenting a budget where operating costs for the city will remain relatively the same. And this year, like previous years, the budget will not include any tax increases, no layoffs, there will be no furloughs, and no reduction of core services. We are able to do this also recognizing that we have increased health care costs, we have increases in our retirement contributions, and we have increases in our debt service costs. And what we're faced with is certainly something that is not a small task. The same cost drivers will continue to create serious fiscal implications for us, and these implications will demand that we be particularly innovative and strategic in our approach. And we plan for the future recognizing that old paradigms are going to have to be shifted and changed. And so that brings us to our second point. We've said each year that we cannot cut our way out of the difficulties that we find ourselves in economically, nor can we tax our way out of these difficulties. We've got to make sure that we use strategies that will chart a successful course for the city's future, and of course that will generate the desired outcome on our investments. And so the investment or the budget that I'm going to present on Tuesday will be with an eye to the future. We want to do more to move the city forward, and in doing so we want to put forth several concepts. The first is that we want to move forward with our plans to radically transform public housing as we know it today. Immediately, we're proposing the investment of $2.5 million in each Whitcomb and Creighton courts. We've done a lot of work in Eastview and in the East End, and this investment will allow us to leverage our investment opportunities from the private sector, from the federal government, and from our philanthropic friends. These properties will move forward with new revitalization strategies. In Wickham, we want these low-income development properties replaced with a true mixed-income development. In Creighton, we envision redevelopment on that site that will include mixed-use, mixed-incomes communities. The initial investment will fund pre-development activities, which is absolutely necessary if we're going to have the type of transformation that we were so encouraged by when we went to Atlanta and saw a city that had gotten rid of all of its public housing. Without these dollars, we'll not be able to leverage the private sector and nonprofit monies that it will take to redevelop these communities. And it's important for us to do this because redeveloping these communities will improve the quality of life for the current residents of public housing, and additionally it will increase the tax base for the city. Next, I want to build on some of the momentum that we've already begun to see in Shockoe Bottom. The train shed at Main Street Station has not been in use for almost 2 decades, but work is going to begin soon to transform that landmark into a multimodal transportation hub. The $26 million is in place for that project, and we expect work to begin on it very soon. And in order to leverage that and to enhance the redevelopment of the Main Street station in Shockoe, I'm proposing that we invest $5 million to begin development of a Shockoe Bottom Promenade or a public square. This is a move that will help us anchor this area as a tourist attraction, creating public space, open public space, and eventually connecting Broad and Main Streets. It will also invigorate the farmers market, and this public investment will also serve as an inducement for private investment along Main Street, along Franklin Street, along 17th Street, and in the train shed itself. I also want to move forward on the development or the beginning of the development of the riverfront. Everyone knows and agrees that the river is our most valuable asset, and our biggest challenge is in finding the right balance between development and protecting this wonderful natural resource. We've had many public sessions related to the riverfront development. They have been well attended with enthusiastic river lovers from the city. And one of the things that we all agree on is that providing greater access to the river for families, schools, and visitors and others is a priority for the city of Richmond. This would be an enhancement that would spur other economic growth and development. To that end, I'm proposing that we spend $5 million for riverfront development. We want to start with riverfront terraces, and this is a part of the vision. I believe that this is a picture of the terraces that we envision, and this is a part of the vision that we put forth during our State of the City address. Again, it's a return on our investment that will benefit the city's bottom line. A key to the upcoming budget is a move that is designed to generate more tourism, economic dollars, and economic impact, business growth, and job opportunities. It's something that you've heard me talk about before, and I'll be proposing our participation in. It's something that you have not heard me talk about before, and that is our participation in a major renovation of the Landmark Theater. And I'm proposing that we invest $14 million in that renovation, and that's going to generate another $36 million through the use of historic tax credits, naming opportunities, and corporate and other private funding. We already have Richmond Center Stage committed as a partner to this idea, and basically for every dollar we invest, it will generate $2.80 in return. This will allow this $14 million to turn into a $50 million renovation for this historic site. I think that this is very important for the future direction of our city. We've also already seen an increased interest in Broadway productions wanting to come to Richmond, and studies have shown that an improved facility will generate over $6 million annually, doubling the economic impact and tax revenue presently generated by the Landmark Theater. This is a significant return on our investment and a move which underscores Richmond's role as a cultural hub. And it's important to note that the majority of this investment comes from visitors who come from outside of the city. We also want to work on positioning Richmond to capitalize on the developing trend of manufacturing in the United States, which is returning as our most important employment driver. There really is no reason why we should not have a world-class industrial park right on Interstate 95. We're in a strong position to establish a first-rate industrial park by maximizing the assets that we already have. And so what we're looking to do is to improve the Deepwater Terminal Road and the rail system with an investment of $2 million, and that will be leveraged by over $9 million in federal and state funds that are already being made available to us. An investment in these assets will be a part of my budget presentation and will support our efforts towards some land assembly strategies that will help us leverage our assets for manufacturing opportunities. Now, this has been made possible because of the $62.1 million refund from the Richmond Metropolitan Authority. We're proposing to spend those monies in the ways that I have outlined. But also, we are proposing to reserve $33.1 million of the refund in the following ways, and this is extremely important. We will increase our fund balance by 10%. All AAA bond-rated cities have at least 10% in their fund balance. This will put Richmond in that category. We've begun this over the several years of my administration, and we want to continue to get into the position to achieve AAA bond rating. We'll invest $12.5 million in our revenue stabilization fund. This is a fund that I began in 2009 that protects the city against unknowns. For example, harsh cuts in federal or state funding that we can't predict, or drastic reductions in property taxes. It also, once again, helps us with our AAA bond rating. It is also necessary for us to put some money into our asset renewal fund to help replace worn infrastructure and to have some ability to invest in new assets. And so for this purpose, I would like to set aside $11.5 million. State law authorizes such a fund, and again, we would be wise to prepare to invest in the city's assets in this way while we have the funds available to do so. We know that our infrastructure is aging, and this is a strategy that will allow us to expand the life of the infrastructure in a very old city. Like saving, paying off high interest debt is also fiscally prudent, and we want to do that. We're proposing to pay off $26.5 million in outstanding debt, which has an average interest rate of 5%. And by paying off that debt at the high interest rate, it will allow us to borrow new debt at more affordable and lower rates. The other silver lining we realize with paying down of our debt is that with these debt savings, we can fund our portion of the regional project to build a baseball stadium. We're proposing that our debt savings go into a fund for Richmond's contribution to a new stadium for the Flying Squirrels. And moving the stadium project forward has another residual benefit because it will allow us to prepare the boulevard for future development along North Boulevard and for job opportunities for our residents. Now, this combination of activities that I've just shared with you generates momentum for the city, even at a time when there's little momentum to go around. What this combination of investments creates is a clear sense that we can be strategic even in economic difficult times. But we've got to be wise about what we do, and we've got to be wise about using the resources that we have in a way that provides a return on investment for the city. And so I submit to you that this approach will work for our city. I submit that it will move us forward. These are investment strategies that will generate economic benefits, job opportunities, and future growth for the city. Tuesday is the day that we will submit a more detailed budget, and I will also bring forth plans for other areas that we have not outlined today. We will talk a little bit Tuesday about workforce development funding, poverty reduction strategies, including rapid rehousing for the homeless. We'll talk a little bit about affordable housing, community revitalization strategies, as well as our plans for alternatives to incarceration. So those things will be talked about on Tuesday in a more definitive way. Now, before I wrap up today, and I see many of the members of the school board and the superintendent are here, I want to touch on the school board shortfall issue. The problem of the $24 million gap does not escape me. But what I want to say is that we cannot continue to do things in the same way and expect different results. We've got to do things differently. And in my estimation, the question isn't whether we fund $24 million extra for the schools. The real question is what we do to invest in schools, to educate our children, and how can we get the best return on our investment. And so I'm going to be addressing that issue with a proposal that I'll bring forth on Monday, and we'll discuss that in greater detail at that time. In closing, let me just say that our budget is all about being good stewards over the city's future, and I look forward to presenting the details of our plan on Tuesday and to the deliberations that will follow as we work with the city council and with the citizens of the city to build a better Richmond. So thank you very much for your attention.